Starting us off in at number 10, Hal Jordan. Sure, there are a handful of reasons why one would dislike Hal Jordan, mainly obnoxious personality trait based reasons. No offense if you adore him, that actually was not an attack on his character. But at one point we all universally disliked Hal Jordan. Once upon a time, Jordan was possessed by the evil entity PARALLAX and threatened to destroy the world. Okay, context here. As a result of the death of Superman's storyline, Coast City was destroyed, Coast City being Jordan's home. Distraught with grief, he became further susceptible to Parallax's influence. The entity, who is the embodiment of fear, had targeted the Green Lantern for a while, and this was the perfect opportunity to finally act out its plan. It manipulated Hal to go on a murder streak, seemingly killing Sinestro and other Lanterns, and destroying the central power battery, which had imprisoned Parallax. See what the fear entity did there? Yeah. He was eventually set free of Parallax's possession when the Spectre bonded to Jordan's infected soul and expelled the entity from him. And at number 9, Barry Allen. Accidentally almost destroying the world counts on this list, which means Barry Allen finds himself making an appearance at this number, thanks to Flashpoint. The Flashpoint story arc came out in 2011, and featured Barry in an alternate timeline that only he was aware of. He wakes up one day to discover that his mother is still alive, his father was never framed for her death, Superman is seemingly non-existent, and a lot of our favorite heroes are pretty villainous, with Wonder Woman and Aquaman on a warpath that has caused much of Europe to be destroyed and has killed millions. There is no Justice League. Batman is Thomas Wayne, and Martha Wayne became the Joker, and Bruce was the one who was shot and killed in that alleyway. Dark, right? In order to save the previous timeline, Barry must travel back in time, ultimately causing the hero to sacrifice his own happiness and lose his mother yet again in order to set things right. It also caused the reset of the DC universe, which caused the New 52 reset, which was until recently believed to be the Flash's fault. But turns out it was actually Dr. Manhattan's doing all along. Gotta love a retcon that retcons the retcon. Up next, number 8, Black Bolt. The Inhuman King, Black Bolt, is generally perceived as a force of good, and for the most part he is. But his powers have the capacity to destroy whole planets at full strength. Black Bolt has a destructive hypersonic voice and can manipulate particles. A whisper of his can be utterly devastating, and a shout can cause earth-shattering effects. That's not all though. After Secret Invasion and a crossover event called War of Kings, he went a little mad, and put not only the Earth, but all the Inhumans that he ruled and other civilizations at great risk. He decided to go after the Kree Empire himself, with whom the Inhumans had long-time beef, and declared war on them. After defeating Ronan the Accuser, he took over the Kree Empire as its ruler. Then he decided to go after the Shi'ar Empire, which was ruled by Vulcan, leading to devastating effects, only stopped by a bomb detonating and making readers presume that Black Bolt was dead. Spoiler, he came back. And at 7, Brainiac. Brainiac is a villain who first appeared in Action Comics issue 242 from 1958. He is an alien villain who is often considered Superman's second arch-enemy, next to Lex Luthor of course. Brainiac is capable of a whole lot of scary stuff. His cyborg body grants him superhuman strength, speed, stamina, longevity, and durability, and flight. He has a regenerative healing factor too. In addition to that, he's got superhuman intelligence, he's a technopath, he can project energy, take possession of other beings, can generate impenetrable force fields, and worst of all, he has vast psychic powers. These can include telepathy, telekinesis, mind control, and matter manipulation, although that has varied over the years. Thanks to DC's ever-changing and retconning of their own main continuity, several versions of Brainiac have popped up over the years, and in some versions of his story, he is actually responsible for the destruction of Krypton. Needless to say, he's got the abilities to bring down an entire civilization, especially if the likes of Superman wasn't around to protect Earth from his schemes. Moving on to number 6, the Supreme Intelligence. The Supreme Intelligence is yet another character whose intellect could bring down a civilization. So, the Supreme Intelligence, who first appeared in Fantastic Four issue 65 in 1967, is an artificial intelligence that rules over the Kree. It was created by the Kree as a supercomputer that consists of the greatest minds of their people over the last million years. A cybernetic and organic single collective intelligence that incorporates the disembodied brains of the greatest Kree individuals that have ever lived, and is preserved cryogenically. It has a seemingly immeasurable intellect with a vast knowledge that surpasses anything that we have on Earth. It is capable of cosmic awareness, telepathy, telekinesis, precognition, and postcognition. It can alter reality, manipulate matter and energy, and create up to 3 androids at any given time. So, needless to say, with a force like that leading the Kree, you can see why the Kree have been able to nearly wipe out other extraterrestrial races in the past. Moving on to number 5, Parallax. Parallax is a cosmic entity who could easily take over a planet and cause its destruction. Now, fear is Parallax's jam. It has massive fear-casting and mind control abilities that can take hold of the likes of Superman, Wonder Woman, and even Spectre. Only those who who can conquer their inner fear completely are able to evade its grasp. Now, if someone feels the slightest bit of fear, PARALLAX can take possession of their body. It has no true physical form, generally transforming into a form that will instill its targets with fear. So imagine what abilities like that could do if PARALLAX wanted to see a world crumble. And no superheroes the likes of Green Lantern or Batman were around to prevent it from doing such. Yeah, that's scary. Up next, number 4, Null. Null is a literal god, an elder god to be exact, having existed prior to the Marvel multiverse as we know it. Null had enjoyed drifting through the endless void of space until the Celestials screwed that up for him, evolving the universe into what it is now. Null off, attempted to wage a war against them, decapitating one of the Celestials in the process, which caused him to be banished for eternity to the void. Null then used that decapitated head to forge the Clintar, the race of symbiotes that Venom belongs to, and then the severed head would eventually become Nowhere. Known as the god of the symbiotes, he has the ability to create, control, and manipulate an eldritch darkness, a manifestation of the Primordial void that existed before the universe itself, allowing him to create and dominate over the Clintar. He is responsible for the destruction and corruption of entire civilizations across the universe thanks to his symbiote army. And at 3, Jean Grey. Jean Grey is one of the most iconic X-Men characters of all time. But during the Phoenix Saga, or rather the Dark Phoenix Saga, after Jean is exposed to the deadly radiation of a solar flare, she is bonded to the Phoenix entity, although at the time it wasn't a separate entity. It was later established via retcon to alleviate Jean of her sins while she was under its possession. Girl committed genocide after consuming a star, so yeah, you can see why they would want to retcon that a little bit. But it could have been much worse than a handful of retcons and Jean dying a bunch of times. This is evident from one of Marvel's What If stories. From issue 21, volume 1, What If Phoenix Had Not Died? It's a tale that takes a slightly different approach to the beginning of the Phoenix Saga, except it sees Jean Grey going on a rampage at Xavier's mansion, killing a bunch of mutants including Cyclops, and ultimately the Phoenix Force consumes her and the world, expanding outwards into the universe and basically gobbling up everything in its reach. So yeah, to suggest that on Earth 616 this could have been a reality is actually no understatement. And at 2, Cyclops. Speaking of the Phoenix Force, let's talk about another time it possessed someone and almost destroyed the Earth. We're talking with Cyclops and his Phoenix 5. During Avengers vs. X-Men in 2012, Iron Man would split up the Phoenix Force, causing it to possess multiple individuals who would then call themselves the Phoenix 5. This included Cyclops, who led the team, Emma Frost, Namor, Magic, and Colossus. Together they built a new utopia, a floating fortress, a haven for mutants. The Avengers, though, didn't trust them, and sought to rescue Hope Summers from Utopia. They almost failed if it wasn't for Scarlet Witch's intervention. This prompted Scott to want to hunt down the Avengers, and during these events, eventually all of the Phoenix's power transferred to him. Charles Xavier attempted to stop Scott, but instead, Scott murdered him, fully becoming the Dark Phoenix. He then began to cause havoc across the globe, including earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and fire raining from the sky. Eventually he is depowered after taking an ass whooping by Hope and Scarlet Witch. And finally, in at number 1, Molecule Man. Here we have a character who is constantly threatening to destroy the world, simply by existing. Molecule Man is an incredibly powerful character created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby back in 1963. He is capable of molecular manipulation and reality warping, the latter occurring on a multiversal scale. It was revealed in Secret Wars Volume 2, Issue 9 that Molecule Man, aka Owen Reese, is a multiversal composite entity, who is a single creature that manifests fractions of its entire being in each universe within the Marvel multiverse. You might see where this is going. So, how did Owen almost destroy the world? Well, actually, he almost destroyed the multiverse. This occurred when he duked it out with the Beyonder, and their battle took place in more than 3 spatial dimensions, threatening to completely obliterate the multiverse itself. We would later learn that the primary function of Reese was to serve as a living bomb, one capable of destroying the entire universe that he inhabits if he dies for any reason, which was a deliberate design crafted by the Beyonders, also the ones who place a slice of him into each universe simultaneously. The less divided he is across the multiverse, the more mentally unstable and dangerous Reese becomes. Yikes.
In at number 10, Cyclops. We all like to poke fun at Scott Summers every now and again, but we should actually appreciate just how nice this overpowered superhero is. It would be a rare occasion if Cyclops just decided his new mission was to destroy the entire universe. That being said, he definitely could do some serious damage if he were ever to lose control of his powers. As white bread as he looks, many should fear the mutant because of his lack of control over his optic blasts. After losing his ruby quartz visor, which keeps these powers in check, Cyclops has proven he could level a city just by accident. We've even seen the mutant vaporize one of Wolverine's hands, proving that he could even break through adamantium. If he went rogue, the universe wouldn't stand a chance. In at number 9, Legion. David Haller is an odd duck for sure, and some may not consider him to be a superhero, but hey, if Professor X is your dad, we're putting you on this list. David has the ability to develop specific mutations at a moment's notice, and combined with the character's split personality with each power, he is one scary overpowered superhero. On one occasion where Legion had manifested his powers, he absorbed the personality traits of a terrorist leader. If that's not enough of a red flag, let's not forget the rampage that he went on, traveling back in time to kill Magneto and his father, again by accident. Thankfully, David now has a neural switchboard wristband that gives him more control over these powers without the personality side influencing his decisions. But if he ever wanted to though, Legion would be more than capable of destroying the universe. In at number 8, Scarlet Witch. Wanda's history as a superhero is pretty all over the place. In Avengers Age of Ultron, her and her brother Quicksilver were teaming up with the out-of-control AI and proved that she was a force to be reckoned with. Once she sided with the Avengers, we felt a little better about the Scarlet Witch utilizing her powers to the fullest. However, that being said, Wanda has been able to rewrite reality as seen in House of M, where she teamed up with Doctor Doom to bring her children back into existence. This did not come without consequences though. Upon undertaking this enormous task, the Scarlet Witch summoned this cosmic force which completely took over her and her powers. This moment of complete loss of control should scare us to our core. Wanda can essentially alter reality to become whatever she wants. Now whether that's used for the betterment of society is up to her. If she ever believed the destruction of the universe would be a better starting point than the current reality, she'd be more than capable of seeing that plan through.
And at 7, the Hulk as Maestro. In 1992, The Incredible Hulk Future Imperfect was released, which featured a Hulk from an alternate future who possessed Banner's intelligence and the Hulk's more sinister personality traits. This was the Maestro. He possesses the same powers as the Hulk, but is more experienced and has absorbed a century's worth of radiation thanks to the fallout from nuclear wars on Earth, the same wars that pretty much decimated the planet, allowing for him to claim leadership over it. He is a tyrant and even goes as far as breaking the 616 Hulk's neck, which gives him some time to show him around his Earth in an attempt to convince the younger version to join him. All in all, this version of the Hulk took advantage of the destroyed Earth and made an even worse one out of it. And at 6, Professor X as Onslaught. Professor X is one of the most honorable and respectable characters in Marvel's roster of heroes, but because of how he restricts himself, there have been instances in which he's accidentally put the Earth at risk. This includes a time when part of him became corrupted and transformed into Onslaught. If you're unfamiliar with the storyline that occurred in 1996, during a battle against Magneto and his acolytes, Xavier used his powers to shut down Magneto's mind, forcing the Master of Magnetism to become catatonic. While this occurred, the darkest aspect of Magneto's mind would escape into Charles' subconscious, merging with Xavier's darker nature to grow into a separate persona with psychic omnipotence that was considered an Omega level mutant. He went out, conquered Manhattan, and eventually grew so powerful that he became a being of pure psionic energy, and all the other heroes in the Marvel Universe who weren't X-Men had to charge into him, absorb his energy, and then get killed, except they were put into a pocket universe by Franklin Richards because yay, comics, and then this began the Heroes Reborn saga, which a lot of people hated. All in all, Xavier was bad. And at number 5, Superman. Okay, for starters, we could argue that Superman almost destroyed the world in the Death of Superman story arc because his fake death was a catalyst for Hal Jordan becoming possessed by PARALLAX, all because the copycat Superman showed up in his wake and destroyed Coast City. But I won't go there right now. There are plenty of alternate versions of Superman who have threatened to cause the planet's end through various means, like the Red Sun Superman who operated in and for the Soviet Union, and the Injustice Superman, who killed the Joker and then decided that humanity needed a totalitarian figure to keep it safe, since preventing crime and tragedy wasn't working out too well. Now for context, this idea was spawned out of grief when the Joker tricked Superman into murdering Lois Lane and his unborn child. That Superman alternate would then become entirely corrupt, threatening to ruin the world entirely. And at 4, Batman. Batman is a character who has saved the world plenty of times, but has also put it at severe risk too. Generally, he always prevails and prevents the multiverse from going kaput, but there there has been a handful of close calls in his past. Let's focus on one particular instance though, in the Dark Knight's Metal story event. While you cannot blame the Cape Crusader for the emergence of multiple evil alternate Earth versions of himself, there are plenty and all of them are nefarious and horrifying, Bruce did act as a catalyst of sorts for the entity that brought those evil Batman together out of the dark multiverse, the demon Barbados, who set out to conquer and destroy the regular multiverse. An investigation of Batman's accidentally opened up the gateway to the dark multiverse, which was, as we said, the catalyst for the whole story event. Yeah, yikes, that's putting a lot of shit on the line. Luckily, the heroes prevailed.
In at number 3, Dr. Manhattan.
Something lethal. Or if I know what that means.
Jonathan Osterman is by far one of the DC Universe's most powerful beings, and in the film The Watchmen we saw exactly what he was capable of doing. They showed so much of what he was capable. His abilities are pretty much unlimited, meaning that there's not much that he can't do. If in all of his omnipotent glory he decided today was the day the universe ended, he could finish that task in no time, and then just rebuild everything from scratch, with still time to make lunch. Dr. Manhattan is totally invulnerable to any and all harm, plus in collaboration with his teleportation abilities, he could just pop in and out of any universe to destroy it. Dare I say he could destroy not just the universe, but all of the universes. If you don't believe us, look at the effect that he had on the DC universe alone. His altering of reality and rebirth completely erased 10 years from the DC, resulting in the New 52 timeline. That's you, Dr. Manhattan. In at number 2, Professor X. We've always understood Charles Xavier to be this powerful mutant that usually uses his powers for assisting younger mutants in their journey of understanding themselves and controlling the destruction that they're capable of. In the comic books, Professor X typically exhibits this precise control over his telepathy, but in the film Logan we were able to see how his powers would affect the world if he lost control. Logan had to keep him far away from civilization so that his unstable state wouldn't harm anyone. And with all of that in mind, it's amazing that Charles has been able to not destroy the universe. Grant Morrison and Mark Miller, though, actually pitched a story that involved Charles turning evil in Marvel Tales' End of the World. This saw him becoming corrupted by a mistake in Cerebro's programming and ultimately merging together to form an uber powerful being called X-Terminus. If X-Terminus ever came to fruition, there would have been no stopping him from eliminating the entire Marvel universe. Calm down, DC fanboys, it's not happening.
In at 10, Damien Darhk. Okay, so while not actually destroying the world, if Damien Darhk from Arrow Season 4 didn't have to be defeated for the plot, he would have very well accomplished his goal. The goal being to get all of his loved ones and some savvy investors into a climate-controlled bubble underneath Star City and live there while the world recovers from him launching every single nuke in the world at once using the Rubicon program from Argus. He had obtained the program and launched all the nukes, however Team Arrow, and more specifically Felicity and Curtis, were able to shut down most of them. The deaths from all over the world would have also given Damien immense power, basically making him immortal. His philosophy was that humanity cannot be saved and that the world in fact required a reset in order to save it. And honestly, I think he's probably right. The world is in desperate need of saving, and I'm all for wiping out the entire human race. I'm okay, I swear. And at 9, Nekron. The Blackest Night storyline is probably one of my favorite DC Comics events, with a whole slew of heroes being, for lack of a better term, resurrected using the powers of the Black Lantern rings. Nekron is DC's embodiment of death in a sense, at least if you're not a speedster, and he wanted to eliminate all life in the universe, because like I said, that's what all great villains want, right? Like, what's the point of wiping out the universe? Like, what are you gonna do then? Do all villains just want to die? Like, at least Damien Darhk had a plan on how to keep himself and his family alive. Why would someone want to destroy everything and everyone, including themselves, or leave like nowhere for them to actually rule over? It just makes no sense to me. Like, if there are no living people and they're all just Black Lanterns under your control, would you really feel